hello, and welcome back to another episode of Love It or Shove It, where we talk about the relationships with ourselves and the partners that we have. And if this is the first time you are tuning in, welcome to this talk show. My name is can we consciously have the beautiful connection with the partner. That's exactly what I love to teach people. And I'm here with Bruno. Bruno.
Yeah, so pretty much, obviously, I'm a self-love coach. I tend to help women become more authentic, more expressive, more fulfilled, more confident as well. Obviously, a big part of our confidence, I believe, it comes from the way we see ourselves, the way we love ourselves, and the way we feel seen as well. I believe that, the more seen you are capable and comfortable of feeling and being, I feel like, the more fulfilled you'll be because there's really no fears around you. So obviously, it's really all about working on those things step by step and really breaking all those limits within ourselves. So yeah, absolutely.
Mhm. Yes, thank you so much. So today we have an interesting topic because let me ask you the question. What if the quality of the relationship has nothing to do with your partner and everything to do with who is leading the energy? What if the shift you've been waiting for isn't about them changing, but about who is setting the tone between you? And that's exactly what this episode is all about because we are going to open up the real conversation about emotional leadership, the energy dynamics, and what actually moves a relationship forward or keeps it stuck where it is. So I just
Mm,
wanted to start the conversation about why every relationship has an energy leader. Maybe for some, it's going to be something new. Maybe for some, they're already aware of it. But just to know that every relationship has a tone and we
mm,
can feel it the moment we walk into the room. For instance, some
mm,
couples feel light, they feel connected, they feel open, and other couples might feel tense, distant, or guarded. And that tone does not just happen, it's been
mm,
set moment by moment by whoever is most grounded emotionally. And here is the thing, it's not fixed because sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's another person. For instance, if
mm,
we you had a stressful day and you come in a little sharp, and if your partner meets you with the same edge, guess what happens? That tension starts to grow more. But
mm,
what if the partner meets you with calm? Everything starts softening. And in that moment, they actually lead the energy. And the
mm,
shift is instead of asking, why are they like that? Start
mm.
asking, what am I bringing into this space right now? Bruno, what do you think about this conversation?
Yeah, so I mean, I think, for example, if like you were saying in the beginning, like in the beginning you opened up the obviously the show by saying, what if the energy here is not about you but about the person who's leading, right? Then I think to that I have to say, this is again why communication is so important. This is why we talk about how communication is so important within different outlets of the actual relationship, right? And love itself. Um, because in that moment, if you don't feel okay with something, that's you communicate, right? You say, look, I just don't feel like we're going in the right direction. Yeah, okay, fine. You're great at what you do. I believe in you. I support you. I think we should do this, but I would also either like a saying in what we do, which is more than fair, or I would love to at least be able. Yeah, yeah. That's pretty much it. You don't ever say, right? Because then again, it's like if you don't communicate your problems or if you don't communicate how you feel, the other person is not going to guess. Nobody's
Mhm.
going to guess. If somebody doesn't tell me something's wrong, I might be able to look at someone and and say like, I know something is not right because you're not telling me. I can see it in your face, or I feel like something is not wrong. But not everybody, most people, they're not connected with their intuition as much. People are very disconnected from themselves. They're always waiting for people to say something. And when people don't say something, right? People don't say something because the other people, they're expecting others to guess, and the people are expected to guess never guess because they expect things to be fine because nothing was ever said, right? So yeah, so that's point number one. Point number two is also, well, now more towards now, obviously after you asked me, you were also mentioning um you were also mentioning about people maybe needing to be addressed with a little bit more calm, a little bit more care, a little bit more kindness. And yeah, of course, you know, but that's the thing, like a lot of times it's people tend to generalize a lot. It's very hard to just switch off for their day from their day. It's very hard for people to switch off from their out life. And then when they come home, it's just very easy for people to just, to just to just dump like their shit on others. And maybe they're not dumping it on purpose, but that
Because this is
one
the
little,
safest space to dump.
yeah, I guess. But it's like there's two types of people. There's people who dump because like they can't take it anymore, and there's people who dump because, and again, it is the safest way to dump. And it's the safest way to dump for those people. Why? Because they know that my life may be fucking bullshit on the outside, but if I dump on somebody who understands why I am the way that I am, in the end, I'm going to be able to, say, I'm sorry, this and that, right? And just kind of like take advantage of that. And so for me, those two types of people. But it's like I've been more than enough of an example multiple times. I'm more than an example multiple times before of times where I couldn't take it anymore, and I just dumped, you know. And but that's the thing, I wasn't dumping my problems from the outside world in the person. We were arguing, of course, about the problem in question, but all that anger and all that whatever from the outside world during the day was being used as a way to make a point, as a way to address my point, as a way to get my way, right? And for some reason I was using that as a way to win something that is obviously much more valuable than whatever's happening on the outside world, if I'm making sense here, right? And so then again, like, I guess more than ever it takes emotional control. And it takes emotional control, and it takes very a bunch of strength to just be able to deal with yourself, because I feel like if you're able to deal with yourself emotionally, you're able to deal with other people emotionally as well. You know, like if you don't have a lot of patience for yourself, you're not really going to have a lot of patience for other people. You know, um, yeah, pretty much. But if you do have patience for yourself, I believe you'll have patience for other people. I have patience for myself, and I have patience for other people as well. I can really only speak from myself, but I have patience for myself, and I try to deal with people the same way I deal with myself, and it works because I have emotions, and negative and positive, right? Just the same way as other people have it as well. And so I guess if I'm patient with myself and I deal with myself in a certain way, with patience, right? Patience is a universal language. Love is a universal language. Patience means one thing and one thing only. Patience doesn't mean one thing from one way and then means something else for another, right? It means the same thing. It's just used in different ways, right? But if you use it the right way, it always works, right? So what I tend to use for myself, I use it for other people as well, I guess. Like I tend to be very patient with them, the same way I'm very patient with myself. Um, and yeah, it's all right. And I guess a lot of times people, that's exactly what people are needing.
Mhm. Yeah, beautiful. So let's move to another point where we are talking about what is the difference between control and leadership. Because a lot of people think that they are leading, but they're actually trying to control. And control is rooted in the discomfort, but leadership is rooted in self awareness. For instance, control can sound like you need to communicate better, stop doing that. Why can't you just do this or that? And leadership sounds like I want us to feel connected. Let's slow this down. I notice I'm getting triggered. I'm going to take a breath. This matters to me, and I want to stay open with you. See the difference? One is trying to change the other person, and the other is choosing how you show up inside the moment. Because the truth is, people don't open because they are pressured. People are opening because they feel safe. So it's important to create safety. Leadership is not about commanding somebody, but actually being able to open up the conversation and be humble and be compassionate, right? So, why it's important for somebody to go first? Because this is where ego loves to sit. Because the person can say, I'll soften when they soften, I'll reach out when they do. I'm not going to be the one again. And just like that, nothing moves. Relationships don't break from one big moment, they slowly disconnect through unresolved small moments. So this is like important to like really address, because if people had misunderstanding, now there is a silence, and in silence hours go by, maybe days, both of people thinking they should say something, but the one who goes first is the one who values connection over being right. So that might look like, hey, I don't like how we left things. Can we reset? Can we talk? Right? So that one sentence can actually shift everything. And the reframe is going first isn't losing power, it's actually using that power. Bruno, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree. Then again, I think that I believe that there's two types of control. There's discomfort control, like there's control where then again you feel uncomfortable, and because you feel uncomfortable, you're trying to control everything. And then there's you are insecure and you're not even trying to control it, you're just trying to force it, right? There's trying to win by control and there's trying to win by force. And I think people try to win by control because they're uncomfortable and they're afraid things ain't gonna go their way, which is level one. And then level two is trying to win by force, right? Because they're insecure and they want to just put it out as fast as they possibly can, right? Um, but then leadership is also not comfortable, but the discomfort that leadership is different, right? Because for me, true leadership is being able to highlight other people's strengths. For me, that's what leadership is. A lot of people think, oh, I'm a leader, I know my strengths. Yeah, you know your strengths. But if you're a true leader, you know how to highlight your strengths to help them, but you know how to highlight their strengths, right? For them to realize how capable they are, right? Because something that leaders are very truly good at what they do is remembering people of how good they are and how great they are, right? Simple. The leaders are able to make others look good because they know
Mhm.
how to play to their strengths. They know how to highlight their strengths, right? So pretty much, yeah. So for me, if I'm in a how does this like pretty much manifests itself in love and relationship. So if I'm a leader and I'm leading my marriage or I'm leading my relationship, and you know I'm going to highlight my partner's strengths, right? I'm going to highlight you know uh, how far we've came, how much we've done. I'm going to highlight, obviously, I'm going to validate, right, the efforts of the person I'm with because who doesn't fucking like that? who doesn't like to be noticed, who doesn't like to talk about something after 2 weeks, right? And then say, yeah, I remembered about this. You talked about A, B, and C, and you went to X, Y, and Z, and you spoke to person 1, 2, and 3, right? You remember, and when you notice that you remember, it's actually really good, because that means that you were listening and that you were paying attention. And to be fair, nowadays, people don't pay attention. People don't really give a shit. People talk, 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 and they talk for the moment, which is really good. But the next day, people are playing their part in society to a point where they're listening, listening, listening. But to be honest, the next day, nobody cares. Nobody remembers. It was a part of that moment. Now there's something else to focus on. But when people truly remember, people feel valued, right? And to be fair, nowadays people don't even remember what they ate yesterday. Some people don't even remember. Like they're just so zoned out in life that they don't even remember. But yeah, I guess for a person that you share your life with or that you like, that effort, is obviously needed, and it shows that you also like or love the person or whatever. But for me, that's what means stepping up. I think for me, stepping up means like I want to be more a part of your life, and because I want to be more a part of your life, I'm going to put in the effort to become a person, to become someone that you'd value, but most important, that values myself, right? And that's also why it's very important for people to have like higher standards, because having high standards really kind of like niches down the kind of people that you can be with now, but at the same time, you actually get the right people, right? You don't go hit and miss with high standards. With high standards, it's a hit and it works. Why? Because you know what you want, you're clear about what you want, right? You're not just like gambling and being like, oh, maybe this person or maybe that person. No, if you know what you want, you know what you want. That's it, right? Now, there's also knowing what you want and then being like, and then after a week, downgrading yourself because you can't wait anymore. And then there's, I'm going to focus on myself. I know who I am. I know what I want. The person that I want and desire is also either like me or with very similar qualities to me, right? And that's it, and I'll just patiently wait, and I'll just focus on my life, because there's more things to focus in life than just love and fucking and sex and whatever. So 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 yeah, it's like I think like all these things. And remember, a person who doesn't have high standards could never step up to you. Person who doesn't have high standards could never step up. They can't step up. A person who doesn't have high standards can step up because they're more focused in having quantity than quality, right? And you always got to pay attention to the people that look. Do these people actually want to be with somebody who has high standards? What, so they can go to their friends and jerk off to the idea that like, oh, look at me, I have somebody like this, I have somebody like that? Or do they actually want to be with you for the sake of being with somebody who has high standards, and they want to build with you, grow with you, evolve with you, win with you? It's two different things. It's two different things. Two different things.
So let's just wrap it up with the other point, that the real question, if the person is leading the energy or reacting to it, right? Because this is where the mirror comes. Most people aren't choosing their response. What they are doing, they are reacting to what is in front of them. So, for instance, if your partner is distant, you pull back. If your partner is reactive, you get louder. When the partner is off, you shut down. And now both of the people are just reacting. So, no one is actually guiding the connection back to center. And the good example is, for instance, both of them get quiet and reaction fine. If you're not talking, neither am I. But this is the reaction, right? But the true leadership is, I can feel a shift between us and I'd rather talk than drift. So one feeds distance and another person is interrupting that. And that's exactly where the awareness shows up. If we don't lead the energy, we'll always be at the mercy of it. And this is where it comes becomes the choice, right? We either step up or we step aside. This is not a concept. This is a decision that everybody can make in real time, because every moment in the relationship is asking us, will you bring awareness or repeat the same pattern? Will you elevate this moment or let it drop? So stepping up looks like choosing your response instead of reacting to that, staying present when it would be easier to shut down, communicating instead of assuming, and also holding the standard of connection. And stepping aside looks like blame, avoidance, emotional shutdown, waiting for the other person to do the work. And the truth that most people don't want to hear is that the relationship will only go as deep as the person willing to lead it. Bruno, what do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. I agree. Yeah, 100% agree. I mean, for me, I just feel like, again, it's like, I feel like a lot of times, like, people are very easy to not understand things. I feel like a lot of times, sometimes people are like, I'd rather say something than not say anything. But the problem is that, like, when people are like that, when people would rather say something than not say nothing, they're not really interested in what comes out of their mouth. They're just interested in not looking in a certain way. And so for me, these people are completely powerless. They're powerless, they're impotent, and they act like it. There's not one single ounce of ego and arrogance that will ever make these people be confident. They want to look confident. There's a difference, massive difference in it. Okay. And so looking and being is different. And so if I am a powerful person, I believe that I'll believe it. And I'll say this again, doesn't really matter to me how I'm perceived, because if I know who I am and what I am, and not even to mention, because we can put this in a society level, but even more sense this makes if we speak about relationships, because why the fuck do you care about how you look in front of the person you sleep with every single day? I mean, that person should be the person you should be the most comfortable with. And if it's not, you have a problem in your marriage and your relationship, my friend. I mean, you should try to look comfortable. You should not look again. You should try to be comfortable. Like you should try to be comfortable with your partner. Like, why are you trying to win something against someone that it actually should be the other way around? Right? It's like you're flipping the roles. Right? You don't want to win against them. You want to win against other people. But why against them? It's not their fault. Why you want to look strong in front of them? I know why, because you're afraid that that person is just not going to see you the same way that they saw you before. I get it. I can understand that. But to be honest, behaving in a bad way is exactly what will make people see you that way, not the other way around. In fact, if you behave the other way around, in my eyes, I think you'll only be respected, because those people could go out, right, and try to find that somewhere else, and they probably won't, right? And that comes from you behaving in a way that those, like the person you're with, would find it very hard to get that somewhere else, which means that the rarer a behavior is, the more valuable it becomes, right? Because it's not so available out there. But if you behave in the same way the person is expecting you to behave, then there's no value in you anymore, right? And for me, this is also another way of stepping up. So, sorry.
So I just, you want to say something else?
Not at all, in fact. Sorry, 25 minutes. So,
okay, all right. So I just want to close up with a quick tool, because we can all learn how to lead the energy in 3 moves. So when the moment arises, when person feels triggered or we feel disconnected or about to react, the first step is to actually catch that moment. Before we even speak, we want to notice. Am I about to react or respond, right? Even just the thought of this already like kind of making us to pause. And that's exactly where awareness happens. Because most damage in relationship does not come from intention. It comes from that unconscious reaction. For instance, if people are arguing and then one person snaps, shuts down, or wants to prove a point, instead of doing it, just pause and know that this is the moment, right? And then we have the power to regulate ourselves. We cannot lead the energy if we are overwhelmed by it. I want to take 5 to 10 seconds just to come back to ourselves, whether we are just taking a breath, whether we're softening our body or dropping the need to be right. And then asking ourselves, what do I actually want here? Connection or control? So instead of raising our voice, we just lower it. Instead of rushing our words, we slow them down. And that alone is going to shift the entire dynamic. And then the third move is to choose the direction. Now that we are grounded, we want to lead that moment. We can say something that guides the connection, not breaks it. Something like, I don't want us to drift. Can we talk this through? Or I'm feeling something come up, but I want to stay connected, right? Just be you. And isn't about being perfect. It's all about being intentional. And the power of this tool is that maybe the first time it's not going to work. Maybe the second time it's not going to work, right? But the more we do it, we know that this is going to actually teach us how to use that powerful skill, because it's all about just one grounded response. It's all about just one intentional sentence. It's all about just one moment of leadership. This is something that can interrupt that pattern that's been repeating for years. So if anybody's relationship does not change when one partner changes, it changes when the moment someone decides to lead it. And the truth is, you don't have to wait for that someone to be done. Because every time you choose awareness over reaction, connection over control, or presence over pride, you shift the entire dynamic. So the next time you feel the moment slipping, don't ask, why are they like this? Ask yourself, who is leading the energy right now? And is it me? So this is like a powerful food for thought for everybody, because everybody going through different dynamics. There is no such a thing that, people are not experiencing one way or another. So now, since we have the tool to practice and we become more aware of it, it's a great question to ask. Do I lead, or do I just allow the connection to drift? All right, friends. Thank you so much for tuning in today. It was great. And we'll see you next time. All right. And till next episode, be blessed. Bye.